live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Voices of the Fraternity with myself, Manda Mashiro. And as you would have seen last week, we are in the actuarial world. And today we have another guest. But before we introduce the new guest, please remember to subscribe. I don't know where we are now with numbers, well, particularly when this episode goes live, but we are definitely on road to 1K subscribers. So please help us. Help us, please. Please do subscribe, comment, and like the episode and share with everyone, with all of your loved ones. Apparently, I always forget this part. We are available on Apple Podcast and on Spotify. So if you're driving, please do tune in. Thank you very much. Today's episode, we've got a stunning lady by the name of Kelefilwe. Yes, Kelefilwe Kungwane.
Yes, that's right.
Ma'am, what does your name mean?
Direct translation, I've been paid, but I've been rewarded.
Do you know what was happening? Why you were given that name?
I forgot the story. But yeah, there was meaning behind it that my parents told me, but I just can't recall it right now.
I think it's a beautiful name. One of
Thank
those
you.
rare, I guess, derivatives of Refilwe. And then there was Kelefilwe.
People always confuse my name with Kifilwe or Rifilwe, but yeah, they have completely different meanings. Yeah.
Okay. Now let's get into Kelefilwe. Do people call you Kele?
I don't like that.
I will not do that. Where are you from?
I am from Pretoria, so born and bred in Pretoria. I was born in Mabopane, which is a township in Pretoria North. And at some point in my childhood, I think I was about 9 years old, we moved to like the Pretoria North City, if I could call that, the burbs, basically.
Yes.
And yeah, that was a very interesting transition for me, having grown up in the townships where pretty much, you know, all your neighbors, we play outside with the kids in the neighborhood, and you can go to someone else's house, your parents will know that you're safe. And I think moving to like the burbs was a very interesting transition for me because that completely shifted, right? So we moved to a very Afrikaans neighborhood. We were like the only black family in like, in a couple of streets. Basically, it was very rare at the time to see other black families. So we couldn't make friends.
Which community is this?
In Pretoria North. So it's a little suburb called Dorandia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we couldn't really make friends with anyone. Also, it was a very old neighborhood, so lots of old people living there, so there weren't really that many kids. So the friends I made were basically in school. And yeah, it was so different because I was very aware that we were different.
Sure.
You could feel it, like the way, people act around you, etc. So that was a very interesting, I think, period in my life. But I think I managed to make lots of friends at school. And I think that's one of the reasons also I was a very active child. So I played sports, I did like culture stuff, like dance and speech contests and all of that stuff, because I think for me, community is a very big thing. So I think participating in all of that stuff helped me build a sense of community with lots of different people at school. I went to predominantly Afrikaans schools, so I also made Afrikaans friends.
Sure.
So I think that's kind of like the way that I managed to navigate that kind of environment.
Yeah. And what was home like in a sense of, do you have siblings? Did you grow up with both parents? What was the home structure?
Yeah, I come from a big family.
Love that.
I'm the second of 6 children.
Oh my goodness.
And my parents are teachers. I was raised by a community of teachers. So my parents are both teachers. Their siblings are teachers. Their friends are teachers. So I grew up with the sense of understanding the importance of education. I think that's one thing that our parents and our aunts and our uncles kind of drilled into us, that education is very important and it's something that we need to focus on. And also, it's almost like your one-way ticket out of poverty, right? So I don't come from a wealthy family, and my parents grew up in villages, and they had to kind of make their way basically
Yeah.
in life.
Yeah.
And I think they understood that it was because they got educated and entered the teaching profession that they were able to build their life that they were able to build, but they wanted better for us.
Yeah.
So basically, yeah, they drilled they drilled all of that into us. And I think my siblings and I kind of took that to heart, because where we are at the moment, I think, I'm proud of all of my siblings.
Tell us more about your siblings. Let's start with number 1 all the way to number 6.
My older sister, she's an accountant.
Sure.
She works for the Department of Higher Education. And then there's me. And then my younger sister, she is an industrial engineer. And then comes the doctor.
Sure.
And then my brother just completed his mechatronics engineering degree now.
Guys.
So this is his first year working, and he's so excited. And my last brother is Alat Lamiki, and he just started his studies in IT at the moment. So we're basically STEM kids.
Yeah, it's
All
a
of us
STEM
are STEM
family.
kids, yeah.
Wow, that's so
Yeah.
impressive. That is so impressive. Kudos to your parents. They've
Thank
done well.
you.
And to
Yeah,
you guys.
they've done an incredible
And to
job,
each
I
one of
think,
you
yeah.
guys. And how was schooling? I know you've already said you were very involved in all the extracurricular activities. What kind of learner were you academically? And also, what what career aspirations did you have, let's say in primary school? And if it changed in high school, what was it? Yeah, what did you want to be when you were growing up is the question.
I think it evolved through time, hey?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I was a diligent student because of the way I was raised. So I took
Yeah.
my studies very seriously. So I knew when it was exam time, I needed to focus. When it was studies, I did my homework every day. So I was kind of like a very diligent learner at
Yeah.
school. In terms of what I wanted to be when I grow up, at first I wanted, the earliest memory I have is I wanted to find the cure for AIDS. That's what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Yeah.
I think when I first understood like the disease and, the impact that it has on people, I was like, I want to do something to stop people from dying, just go into the medical field and find the cure basically and stop people from dying. And then early high school, I wanted to be a cardiovascular surgeon.
So still in the medical.
Yeah, still in the medical. I found it interesting, like healing people's hearts. Seemed like a good idea until it was time to choose subjects, and I didn't want to do life sciences.
Okay. Why?
I didn't quite enjoy it that much. So I enjoyed maths, I enjoyed physics and accounting. And like life sciences was not it for me. So then I thought I needed to rethink this whole career thing. Until in grade 11, that's when I discovered actuarial science. So I did this program called Upward Science at the University of Pretoria, which basically takes grade 10 to matric students. And we go through this whole science program, basically, with the faculty there at UP. And it covers basically the Faculty of Natural and Agricultural Sciences. So we did the whole spectrum of kind of careers in that, including mathematics.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt. How does Up with Science from the University of Pretoria, how do you hear of it? Do they come to your high school or you got into it in other ways?
They came to our high school, so I think they selected specific schools, and then we had to apply.
Okay.
And then applied to be be a part of the program, and I got accepted. So yeah, so they took us in from grade 10, and then it works all the way up to matric. And I think the point of it is to expose learners from previously disadvantaged backgrounds into the world of science and the various career opportunities that are in that world that we would have not necessarily have known about. And I wouldn't have known about actuarial science had I not been part of the program. So when it was time for the maths kind of section of the program, we had a lecturer working in the maths department, and then he kind of explained a few professional opportunities in that space, and then actuarial science kind of stood out for me. And then when it was time for us to do our life orientation project about career choices and stuff, kind of researching a career choice that you would think you want to do, looking it up and basically presenting it back to the class. I chose actuarial science, and I think doing the research kind of like confirmed that, yeah, this is exactly what I wanted to do, because I really loved maths, problem solving, and it also had a bit of, it wasn't just purely a maths kind of profession, but it also incorporates kind of like an understanding of accounting, of business management, economics.
Okay.
So it was very broad. And I think that really appealed to me, the breadth of opportunities that the profession would give me. And also that it's a scarce, it's a scarce skill, so I wouldn't struggle to find a job. And the application basically is in various industries.
Yeah.
So that really appealed to me. And the fact that people said it was hard, I was like, challenge accepted.
I want to do the hard
Yeah.
things. Oh, wow. That's what one of my previous guests said. They're like, they said it's hard. And I was like, yes,
I
let's
can
go
do
for
it,
hard.
right? Yes. And also from a transformation perspective, I'd read at the time that there weren't a lot of Black people doing this thing, and I felt like I discovered it by chance, and I felt like that is another reason for me to go into the profession, so other people could see through me that we could, we could do this hard thing and succeed in it, basically.
Yeah. And I can imagine the entry requirements being high. So you went to the University of Pretoria.
Yes.
How did you pass matric? So if someone is in high school right now and they want to get into actuary, what marks are they aiming for that can get them into the program?
Yeah, so it's very competitive. I would say definitely aim for distinctions all around. But the important ones are mathematics and English.
Okay.
So those are the two subjects that they really look out for. So definitely a distinction in mathematics and English. English doesn't have to be a distinction, but the higher your marks are, the higher your APS score is, and your chances of getting in. And some universities look at physical science actually, so you get almost like an advantage if you have good marks in physical science, because I think what they're trying to test is your problem solving ability, and I think when you do well in physics, typically that's you demonstrate that ability. So I would say double down on studying and make sure you get those distinctions. And
So why did you choose the University of Pretoria? Like, you are born and bred.
Yes.
You did not want to get out of the province, get out of the city itself. What inspired the University of Pretoria? My first assumption is the UP with science.
Yes. I think that had a very big influence in me choosing my university to study. The fact that I went through this 3-year program, which helped me kind of like acclimatized to the university. I knew my way around.
Sure.
I knew the faculty. I knew the maths department. So kind of navigating my way through varsity would be easier. And the second is because it is in Pretoria and it's close to home. I didn't want to be too far from home. I wanted to be able to kind of like go home when the going gets tough, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, I grew up in we're lots at home, but we're a very close knit family. So I really value the relationships with my siblings and my parents. So having that ability to kind of like catch a taxi to go home
Yeah.
was very important for me. And lastly, my parents advised me that going too far would be very difficult. Because I mean, imagine going to UCT and like you're having a very difficult time, and home is very like you have to catch a flight to go home, you know. So yeah, I think that's why I chose the University of Pretoria, and also I did go to open days. So I went to Wits, I went to Tax and other universities, but I think at the end UP still kind of like was at the top of my list.
Yeah. Okay. And how was your transitioning into varsity life? Did you continue staying at home or did you stay on campus?
I stayed on campus. So although I do live in Pretoria, it's a bit of a distance.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it would be difficult to commute every day. So I stayed in on campus, and my transition was actually fairly smooth.
Yeah,
because
you've already had this
yes.
background, you know how to move.
And yeah, and the friends I made on the upward science program, some of them also, there's a few of them I lived in the same res with, so
Sure.
they were familiar faces for me, so that made navigating it a lot smoother than it would have been if I was in a
Okay.
completely different environment. Yeah.
So I've got a bias. Those that know me already know that I'm going to talk about tax res. So which res did you stay in? And did you participate in all res activities?
You know what? I was very deliberate in choosing a res. I stayed at Tax Village for several reasons. I know people don't classify it as a res. I know.
Okay.
I know people don't classify it as a res, but I chose it deliberately because I wanted my own room.
I hear you.
And living in the other reses, there was a possibility that I would be sharing with someone, and the thought of it just made me cringe.
Yeah.
So I really wanted my own room. And I think I also just wanted freedom, you know? Like I didn't those races seemed so hectic for me. Like when we went to the open days and stuff, like the rules, the uniforms, I'm like, nah guys, I'm so sorry. This is not for me.
Sorry. Cut me out.
Exactly. So then I chose Tax Village, and yeah, I enjoyed it. Although it didn't really have the proper
Res
kind of
culture.
res culture. I enjoyed my time there.
Man, Kelefilwe.
Which res did you stay in?
I stayed in Yasmin.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So I'm big on the tax res culture. I love it. Advocate for it. If there are any parents, please, your child must stay in res. I think it helps with building community as well.
True.
Instead of staying
True.
off campus, but
True.
not everybody gets to stay on campus. And how was your experience academically?
It started off smooth. So, first year for me was almost a breeze, to be honest. I did maths paper 3, which is kind of like probabilities and statistics, like an introduction to statistics and probabilities. So that helped me a lot with first year stats.
Okay.
I also did economics in matric. Having chosen the career path that I chose in grade 11, I asked to change subjects in matric. So I was doing IT. So I did accounting, physics, IT. And when we had issues with our IT teacher, I asked to be switched to economics in matric.
Okay.
Because I knew it would be important for me in varsity. So having done economics, accounting, and maths paper 3, those were really good foundations for me. So my first year actually was kind of like a breeze. I did very well in most of my subjects, except IT.
Oh, there's I.
There is programming.
Not okay. Sure.
There's programming in first year, and it showed me flames. Yo, it really showed me flames. But at the end, we managed. And I think the level of difficulty just exponentially increased second year, third year on honors. So I had to kind of like put in I had to put in a lot of work from second year onwards because it got really tough. Um, but I think because I always prioritized my studies, like I think I was a well-rounded student. I mean, I went out, with friends. I did like social activities at university. I was part of the actuarial science students committee, social committee and stuff like that. So they came with its own kind of like work, organizing events, writing newsletters, etc. But at the end of the day, I knew my primary purpose was to get this degree.
Yeah.
So I made sure that I prioritized my studies, even when it got tough. I leaned on my friends. I had friends that were stronger in other subjects than I was, so we could leverage on each other's strengths and help each other out. When there was a need to go to tutorials, I went. And the nice thing also, I was a SATP student, so the South African Actuaries Development Program, which is a bursary program, but over and above funding, they give psychosocial and study support effectively. So we had people in other years who would come and tutor us in particularly, there were really difficult subjects that they would focus on to give us that additional support. So I think because I made use of all my available resources, I managed to pretty much get through varsity all the way to honors. Yeah.
Sure. Well done. I know there's a lot of people actually who will go from high school into the actuarial science program. Maybe after first year, second year, they're like, Nasan, I'm going into another program.
Yeah.
Did you ever experience I know you've experienced the difficulty, but did it ever get to a point where you're like, what other programs are there in this faculty? I need to get out.
No, to be honest, I did not. I think, that project for me that I did in grade 11, I think was almost like the anchor. Having done all the research I did at that point, I was kind of convinced that this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
This is the career that I'm going to, I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And I think keeping in mind, so for me, the big thing is remember why you started. Always remember why you started. Like, you can get motivation from people, your loved ones or even, outside people. But for me, the thing that keeps me going is my intrinsic motivation, the thing that's inside. And that's what I hold on to in difficult times, just remembering, why did I even start this journey? Why did I think enrolling in this program was a good idea? And reminding myself of all of that kept me going. So there wasn't a point where I looked for an alternative. What I looked for was, what resources can I use to help me get through this? Yeah.
Sure. I love that. And so you completed your undergrad and then you did your honors?
Yeah.
And how does it work with the University of Pretoria as far as exemptions are concerned? And you can explain to the viewers and the listeners what these exemptions are.
So to become an actuary, we have to complete a set of board exams. The curriculum keeps changing, but I think at the moment it's 15.
Okay.
So it's 15 board exams and then three years of work-based kind of learning, which is almost similar to the articles kind of vibe with chartered accountants. So because these exams are so many, you have the opportunity to be exempted from them if you do well in specific subjects in varsity. So effectively, you are writing those exams in varsity, through specific subjects. So also because I did my research, I knew what those subjects were.
Sure, you were
So
prepared.
so when it came time for me to prioritize, because our schedule was very intense, right? Especially during exams. Like you would have like exams back to back, right? And you don't always have time to get through everything for each exam. So if you're writing 3 exams in the same week, you kind of like have to prioritize which one you're going to focus on, because you won't have time necessarily to go through everything
Yeah.
for all of them. So for me, I prioritized the subjects that could give me exemptions. I think we could get like 3 in first year, another 2 in second year, etc., etc. So I made a list of all of those subjects, and when I was pressed with time, I prioritized accordingly. So this is what I'm going to focus on, and then the other stuff I'll do my best.
Yeah.
But if I don't get through it, then honestly, it's not that bad as long as I pass.
Yeah.
So because of that, I got all of my exemptions in university. So
Sure.
the University of Pretoria at the time allowed you to get 11 exemptions out of the 15. So by the time I graduated with honors, I was done with 11 exams basically.
Wow.
And I had 4 board exams to write after varsity.
After varsity.
Yeah.
And is it similar with, so last week I had someone from UCT and they said with the exemptions, it's not just passing the exam, there's a
Yeah.
certain way in which you must pass that exam.
Yes.
So is it the same at the University of Pretoria?
Yeah.
That module this you must get 70.
Yeah, so there's a specific pass mark that they look for. So it's not just the 50. So with all the other subjects, it's fine to get away with a 50. But with those ones, in order to get the exemption, you have to be some at 70, some at 65%. It depends on the exam.
Yeah.
But you have to get that mark to get the exemption, which is why it was important for me to prioritize those, because the stakes were a bit higher. Sorry. The stakes were a bit higher with those subjects. I needed to focus. Yeah.
I'm actually blown away because I'm just realizing you are a smart girl. Like, there goes my husband.
In essence, I got 75.
In essence, that's what I got.
I got all my exams.
Sure. Like, you are a top learner vibes. Well done. Well done for real.
Thank you.
Sure. And look at you. Oh, thank you. How does it feel? Guys, I'm in the presence of, I mean, a lot of my guests are like very smart people. And I'm always shocked at just the humility, like how normal it is for you guys. You just, they're like, yeah, I got everything. Where does that humility, I don't even know if I should call it humility or it's just who you are, but where does it come from? Is it a function of the fact that you're from a home where everyone is smart? Or I'm from a program where everyone is smart. Like, it's just, that's just how life is, isn't it, guys? Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe I was raised to kind of like always aim, high. But I think more than anything else, I acknowledge that I'm here by the grace of God, honestly. Like, I think beyond intelligence and hard work, I think what has carried me is God's grace. And I'm really grateful for that, yeah.
Yeah, sure. And how was getting a job from finishing your honors? What's the process like with applying? Do you guys start applying way earlier? Or is it, now I've got my honors, I'm sending out CVs? Or does because you had a bursary, do they help you into getting into the job market? How did you get your first gig?
So the program that funded me doesn't have a work back kind of arrangement. So it's almost like just funding. And the way it works for us is that companies typically come in our honors year, maybe around June. May, June, I think, to kind of like market themselves, I guess. So we have an actuarial career fair at some point during the year. I can't remember when exactly it happens, where all the kind of like the big actuarial employers kind of come through to market themselves and the opportunities that they offer. So that makes it a bit easier to navigate looking and finding a job. And I think the reason why also these exemptions are important is it opens up a lot of opportunity, because that's what these employers are looking for. So typically when you start working, your employer would fund your studies. So they would pay for your exams and your study material, etc. So they typically look for people who are further on in the journey.
So they get to pay less.
So they get to pay less. But also it's about, your capacity at work is a bit more, because you're not away, because you also get study leave. So you're more at work, so you've got, more time to contribute at work than being away on studies. So that's what a lot of them look for. So not only just good marks, but how many exemptions you have. And I think because I had all my exemptions at the point, it made the journey a bit easier for me to look for a job.
And where did you start? You can mention them, or you can just mention the industry, whichever to your level of comfort.
I work at Liberty. I joined right out of varsity, and I'm still there.
You're still there.
So this is my 10th year
Hi,
of working at Liberty. Yeah.
Wow, that's a long time of working.
I know. Yeah.
And how has that been, especially juggling? Now it's the work-based competencies and the exams that you write. I know now you're done, but how was that? Those initial years of juggling everything.
It was tough, actually, for me in my first year of work. So after varsity, I went back home. So I was commuting from Pretoria North to Joburg every day. And there was like 4 hours of commuting.
Why was that?
Every day, because I had to catch a taxi to town, and then from town get the How train, and then a shuttle from the park station to
But why
work.
did you stay at home?
Oh, why I stayed at home?
Yeah.
I wanted to go back home. I wanted to go back home, but also I thought it would be fine, because then I don't have to pay rent and cook for myself and all of that stuff, so I can focus on my studies. But because of the commute time, actually tiled into my study time. So I'm not a morning person. I'm a night owl. I focus a lot better at night than I do in the morning.
Yeah.
But then when I got home, I was very tired because of the long commute. So I didn't really put in as much work as I would have liked to. So I failed my first exam.
Sure.
The first
What
one
did
I
this
wrote.
mean for the intelligent girl?
My first fail was, I wasn't surprised, to be honest. I mean, I was disappointed, yes, but I wasn't surprised because I knew I was struggling with kind of like my time management because of the commute. So then I moved to Joburg with my sister. And then that helped a lot in terms of kind of like managing work-life study balance.
Yes.
So I think it was a good decision to move to Joburg, and that helped me going forward in terms of the rest of the studying.
Yeah. And I guess the rest of the exams, they were fine.
No, not quite.
Tell us more.
So the first exam I attempted after varsity was what we call the fellowship exam, which is effectively the pinnacle or exam, the final one that you write, which is like a specialist type of exam. Like you write it in either life insurance, short-term insurance, pensions, etc. It kind of like gives you a specialization route, if you could call it that. And I could have written another exam kind of like one level below that. But I chose to write this one because it followed on from what I had just done in varsity. So I thought
Okay.
it's kind of like a nice transition into that one.
Yeah.
But it showed me flames because I didn't understand that it's actually an applications exam. So you actually need work experience
Okay.
to be able to do well. I mean, there are people who've passed it out of varsity, but typically it asks you like very practical questions, and you need to have kind of like enough work experience to be able to tackle those questions. So that, coupled with the fact that I didn't put in enough hours, meant that I failed the first time I wrote it. And then I was better prepared the second time because I knew I moved to Joburg. I did all that I needed to do to,
Yeah.
attempt it for the second time, even went on a course, and then I failed
Again.
For me, that fail was very devastating,
Yes.
actually, because the first time I kind of knew why, but then the second time I felt like I was very prepared, and I did what I thought I needed to do to understand the content. I read all the practice notes and the regulations. I spoke to people,
Yeah.
did lots of past papers. And then I failed, but my mark was better than the last time, and then I failed. So it was a bit devastating for me, actually, because I was just like, what's going wrong? Like, I
Yeah.
thought I was absolutely prepared. And I had to go back. So I think I stayed in that space for a while. But then I had to go back to my why,
Yeah.
because at that point I was like, am I even cut out for this? I thought, I had smooth sailing up until now. Maybe, I don't know, am I capable or not? But then I had to go back to my why. And I think that's what lifted me up from that space. So then I decided to write another exam, just to give myself space to breathe from this exam that just showed me
So a
flames.
separate example
So a
from this one
different
that's taunting you.
Yes, I did a different exam just to kind of like, basically give myself space from that one.
Okay.
So I passed that other exam, and then I went back to this one, and then I passed. Because I realized then that actually my problem was exam technique. It wasn't content. I knew the content. My issue was exam technique. So a friend of mine paired together. We were writing the same exam. Literally every Saturday morning, we'd go to our offices and we'd do past papers. So
Yeah.
from 9, so we'd almost like try to simulate the exam as much as we could. 9 o'clock starts until 12, take a lunch break, and then we swap papers and we mark each other's papers. We did that for like months.
Sure.
And then I passed. I think I got the technique right, and then I
Yes.
managed to
Yes.
pass at the end. So yeah.
And what does it mean to pass at the end?
Yeah, it means all those years of hard work paid off.
Yeah.
It was so surreal for me, particularly passing that exam, because it was then my last one. It was so surreal. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. But I was just so happy that, all those years of hard work kind of paid off.
Yeah.
And I can do hard things.
Oh, yes, you can.
I can do,
Definitely.
I can really do hard things. And like I said, the grace of God has carried me through this whole journey with its ups and downs. And I'm glad I got to the other side.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So earlier on, before we started recording, I was asking you about this Sira. So can you walk us? So you are a Fasa and a Sira.
Yes.
Tell us what a Fasa and a Sira is.
So a FASA is a fellow of the Actuarial Society of South Africa. And basically, it's someone who's gone through all the 15 board exams, plus the 3 years of work-based learning. And to become a fellow, you had to write that fellowship exam that I was talking about, that effectively it's a specialist kind of kind of exam, because you do have the opportunity to become an associate actuary, which means you kind of like end at the generalist kind of level.
Okay.
And you don't do
Okay.
the fellowship exam. So fellows kind of go through all the exams and they kind of choose a specialist fellowship exam to complete. And yeah, so fellows are the highest members of the society, and they are able to become head of actuarial functions, which is basically the old term was a statutory actuary. So these are the people who can sign off on accounts in the pensions business. They can become valuation actuaries, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
So you have the ability to kind of like sign off very important
Yeah.
very important numbers for life insurance companies, short-term insurance companies, pension funds, etc.,
Sure.
because you would have gone through the whole rigorous kind of training and have gotten that experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then CIRA, so these are chartered enterprise risk actuaries. So it's a risk management kind of focused designation. So to become a CIRA, there's an exam, a specific exam that you have to write. This is the exam I wrote before
while
I
you were
passed.
taking a break.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So I wrote it because I wanted the, additional
The additional designation.
additional designation. So it's a enterprise risk management exam, which basically trains you about the whole risk management cycle. I really enjoyed this exam because it was different to the other exams I had written up until that point. So the ones I had written up until the point were very insurance and pensions, like traditional actuarial kind of focused.
Yeah.
And this one blew my mind because there was an exam I did, they were talking about a gym. I'm like, what's going on? This is so interesting. So I really enjoyed it because then I could see, it took me back to, when I was in high school and I realized the breadth of opportunity there is in this profession, because as a risk management actuary, you can work for a gym, you can work for an insurer, because there's risks to be managed in all types of organizations, right? So it gives you that kind of training and skills to be able to understand the context that you're working in, and how to identify the risks, how to manage them, mitigate them, etc. So you write that exam, and then there's also a 2-day course that you attend, which is a bit more practical.
Yeah.
And then, you become a CIRA, and it's there's a CIRA Global Association. So all the CIRAs kind of like belong to that. It's also a professional body on its own outside of the Actuarial Society of South Africa. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Interesting. Another congratulations.
Thank you.
So I want you to explain to us what you do.
Okay.
Treat me as a child in high school who's about to write their LO project at your level. Because honestly, maybe it's exposure, and I don't think a lot of us are exposed to actuaries, and we don't know what they do. We just know that there's maths and it's difficult. What you're doing, we don't know. Please explain to us. What are you guys doing?
I think it varies a lot depending on where you work, but fundamentally, I think what actuaries do, they kind of try to make sense of the future, make financial sense of the future. So the reason why we do a lot of maths and statistics is because that is the foundation of what helps us make sense of the future. So we deal a lot with uncertainty. So for example, I work in life insurance. So in the context of life insurance, we sell. So for example, if you go to a life insurer and you want to buy a life insurance policy, which will pay your beneficiary in the event of your death. That's very uncertain. We don't know when that is going to occur. And if you pool that with kind of like all the policy holders that buy from us, we don't know exactly when these events are going to happen. And so what we do is we try to project what the future could look like, and help people make decisions based on that information. So yeah, I mean, a good example I can give you is
Yeah.
during the pandemic, during COVID. So obviously there were lots of people who were dying, getting sick during COVID, and the markets kind of crashed during that period. So as an actuary working for a life insurance company, you have to be able to help the business manage this pandemic, and there's lots of uncertainty. So our role then was to try to simulate all the possibilities in terms of how COVID could evolve specifically in South Africa, and what that means for the rate at which people are getting sick and would need to claim, or the rate at which people are dying and would need to claim. And we need to make sure that, you know, we actually have enough money to pay out all of those claims, because it's like, it's not even a 1 in 200 year event. It's quite
Yeah.
like a very rare event, and we as a business need to be prepared to show up for our clients like we said we would in those times of need. So we then run those numbers to make sure that, okay, we need X amount to be able to pay all of these claims when they are due.
Okay.
And also we need to make sure that we have enough capital so we remain stable and the business doesn't go under during the pandemic. So effectively,
Okay.
that is what we do.
Thank you. I get it. I hope you guys get it. Are you satisfied? Are you happy having gone through your journey from young little Kelefilwe to today, Efasa Esira? When you look back, was it all worth it?
Yeah. Sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry. It was definitely all worth it. I don't think as a little girl I would have imagined that I would be here right now.
Yeah.
So I'm really grateful for the journey that I've walked so far, and I'm happy with where I am right now. But I'm a lifelong learner, so
Yeah.
for me, I haven't arrived. I haven't arrived anyway. I'm still on the journey of learning
Yeah.
and growing. So for me, personal development and professional development and growth is important for me. So I always look for opportunities to learn. So that's kind of like the journey that I'm on. But I really, when I started working,
Yeah.
I just had one prayer: to love the work that I do and enjoy working with the people I work with. And for me, that's been my career, to be honest. And that's why I've stayed at the same company for
Yeah.
so long. I'm living in that answered prayer.
Beautiful.
I really enjoy my job, and I think I work with incredible people. So I'm really happy about that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm continuing to learn and developing. Yeah.
Okay. And just to end it off, so Fasa and Sira, will call them they are designations. What is your, do I call it your position right now at Liberty? Yeah.
So right now I'm the head of insurance risk insights. And what I do effectively is I do a lot of experience analysis. So having a look at our kind of claim rates from a mortality perspective, disability, etc. What's happening in actual practice relative to the assumptions that we had set based on, the projections and, data analytics that we would have done at the point. And I help the business make the right decisions.
Sure.
So I pretty much run numbers and translate them into actionable business, items, basically. Yeah. And at the moment, given, the world is evolving, we've got tech advancements and stuff. What I'm busy doing right now is building a data analytics capability, using machine learning and AI and those kinds of things in the spirit of learning and developing and evolving with the times.
Yeah.
I would say, that's what I do right now.
Okay. Sure. You know what? Wherever your parents are, I'm sure they are proud of you. Not just you, but all of the children. I still emphasize they really did an amazing job with raising the STEM generation. and again, kudos to them. From myself, thank you so much for coming to the podcast and sharing your journey, but also educating people about what it takes to get to where you are right now. So really appreciate that. To the viewers and the listeners back at home, thank you. Please remember, comment, like, subscribe, and all of those fancy things. And thanks. Until next week, we out.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really lovely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.